All right, welcome back everyone. Josh Weber here for another breakdown of Build a Better Brand, Make More Money. So I'm going to give you some tips today specifically centered around what we like to call brand hierarchy. Right now there are different terms for this. You might hear a family of brands or brand family or umbrella brands and sub-brands or portfolio brands and their parent brands. But today I'm going to use the term brand hierarchy and why it matters, especially if you are involved in a company that has branches or departments, if it acquires other companies or brands, if mergers and acquisitions is an important part of what you do, if you have a portfolio of companies, or if you just have tangential products or services that exist under an umbrella. Right now, this is all going to make sense when I bring up this graphic here, which I'm going to bring up now. First, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, pull this over here, and I'm going to bring this up right here. Here we go. I'll make it a little bit bigger as well. Okay, so you probably recognize a few of these brands up here, right? Now, many of you watching this probably didn't know that there is a method to the madness, right? Let's go over a couple examples here, and then we'll talk about, how do you then determine which of these brand hierarchies you should be following? Right now, I'm going to use that term very loosely, should. It depends on your business goals, your long-term vision, and what you want to be doing. But there is a way for you to help determine, well, should I be a house of brands? Should I be a branded house, sub-brand, endorsed brand? And then underneath there's even subcategories. Right now, I want to make this pretty clear. There's no right or wrong answer here per se, and oftentimes if you go look at brand hierarchy models or graphics, they're going to use different terms, right? So there's different terms for branded house. Other agencies or creatives or marketers might use a different term here, but the methodology is the same. The general goal is the same. Okay, so let's look at some of these examples. For example, one of the first ones I like to use when working with a new team member here, or maybe I'm chatting with an intern, I said, did you know that Taco Bell and KFC and Pizza Hut is all owned by the same parent company? Or at least has the same umbrella brand that manages those brands? It's Yum, right? A lot of people had no idea, right? So that's not connected, right? This is a non-connected kind of parent organization. This starts to become a little bit more apparent. Some people have heard of Unilever, right? Some people have definitely heard of General Mills, right? When you go to the grocery store and you pull out the cereal box, the Lucky Charms, you've seen this icon probably at the bottom, right? Then we start to move a little bit more to the left. We say, oh, I've definitely heard of Nestle, right? Definitely heard of Nestle, but maybe I didn't know that it was like that was their icon. It's kind of interesting, right? This was more obvious to me. Then as we start to move more to the left, Hilton, absolutely, I've heard of Hilton. Kellogg's, yes, I've heard of Kellogg's. In fact, they go as far as to put that parent or umbrella brand on the sub-brand logos, okay? L'Oreal, now look, as we move to the left, visually speaking, the parent organization or the umbrella brand is now bigger than the sub-brand. Okay, interesting. Then you get to the brand, but maybe it has just different entities or branches under it. And then we have what's called same identity. Okay, let me give a better example right here of same identity other than Accenture. Think about Google. Okay, so we've got Google is the brand, and then what are the products or sub-brands that are under Google? What about, is it Google Fiber? Is that what it's called? Yes, I'm looking over here. Google Fiber, Google Workspace, Gmail, Google Calendar. They've got the Google Pixel. What else do they have? They own a bunch of other subsidiary kind of companies there. But what's the brand that they put front and center? Google. Right now, why is this? Let's think about this. Because Google, the brand or the name, has so much weight, they want it to be forward-facing, right? It exists under the umbrella of Google. Whereas if we go to the opposite side of the spectrum, right, everyone knows Pizza Hut, everyone knows KFC, everyone knows Taco Bell. Oftentimes, these companies were created separately on their own, but they were then acquired and merged under the Yum umbrella, right? Now, if Yum was foolish or selfish and said, well, we want the Yum brand to be front and center, you would lose some brand loyalty. You'd lose brand recognition with KFC. So people know KFC, people know Pizza Hut, people know Taco Bell. Let them be in the forefront. Let those brands do the talking. and Yum is just in the background. Say, hey, we own these brands. Okay. Now, oftentimes there's something in the middle. A fun example here is when you start to think about hotel brands, right? So let's think about Hilton. Everyone knows Hilton, but they also want to make it clear the level of the sub-brand or the business or the hotel that you're going into. For example, it's very different when you're going into a DoubleTree by Hilton, and I'm forgetting what the top one. There's a real luxury kind of Hilton brand. Think Shangri-La, right? There's these Hilton resorts that are just absolutely beautiful, expensive, luxurious hotels. That's very different than DoubleTree, but they're both owned by Hilton. So Hilton wants you to see, hey, this is a Hilton-owned brand. In other words, you're going to get quality. There's some underlying values that comes with the Hilton name. But at the forefront, a little bit more important than that, is this is the type of hotel that you're going to get, right? So when you book a DoubleTree room, you're not expecting the Shangri-La or the Four Seasons, right? You know it's DoubleTree, but okay, I know that DoubleTree, in terms of the affordable hotel chain, I still have these expectations because it's owned by Hilton. Likewise with Kellogg's, we can see here very similar, right? So how do you gauge? Well, Josh, I have an umbrella brand, and I'm considering of acquiring these new companies. How do I know which brand hierarchy I should follow? Again, it depends on. I would say step number one is: are you acquiring brands that already have a lot of traction? Are people already aware of those companies? Right? Does it do more for that sub brand for people to know and have that sub brand be in the driver's seat and you're in the back seat? Right? Don't get too prideful. Don't get too cocky. Don't get caught thinking that the umbrella brand is more important. Oftentimes, hey, I really don't care about Kellogg's. I want to make sure this is Rice Krispies. Okay? Where sometimes it's the opposite, and if that umbrella brand that you are running is the driver, right, and that has the traction, and you're bringing in these sub-brands or sub-companies, then you want to be more forward in the discussion than go with the same identity, what Google does or Accenture does, right? So that is a common exercise. Just think about how are you acquiring these new sub-brands, and then do you want the umbrella brand to be in the driver's seat, or should the sub-brand be in the driver's seat? Okay, and then why does this matter? Well, it really helps matter because if you're launching new products or services, which, by the way, if you have a brand or a company, but you're launching new departments and they're kind of standalone, it's probably going to venture closer to this side. Because what this tells me is you already have a parent brand, but you're rolling out new technologies or services or products or lines. People are probably already familiar. Your parent brand has more clout. Okay? So that's usually an indicator. Okay? And what this does is it does several things. This is why it's important to know or have your brand hierarchy fleshed out and identify. Number one, it's going to make sure your team is on the same page, right? If you're a franchisor and you're rolling out franchisees, if you have a large internal team, just your employees, your founders, your co-founders, this will allow your leadership to be on the same page, your employees or your team to be on the same page, and then your sub-brands to be on the same page. Give the visual. Say, hey, this is who we are, right? We're a master brand. We're a master brand, and when we roll out new products or services, these are our sub-brands underneath. But the master brand is the driver, okay? Give them the vision. So that's number one. Number two is it will help you with your marketing and branding efforts. For example, if you roll out a new service, as L'Oreal, or a new product line, Men Expert, for example, you already know how to brand that service. You already know the visual identity. You probably know how it's going to influence your messaging. You're going to lean more into, hey, this is a L'Oreal product or service, followed by, now here's the product or service, right? So it's going to help you with your marketing, advertising, and branding. Thirdly, it will help your customers. This is probably maybe most important, but it will, as you can see here, help your customers, help your marketing, right? Again, if the emphasis is on the portfolio or sub-brands, let them do the walking, let them do the talking. Do a not connected or shadow endorser. Okay, then it's clear for your customers. You won't see Yum everywhere. Imagine if you replace these brands with Yum. I don't know what this is, I'm not going there, right? I want this here. Whereas vice versa, if Google just rolled out some new fiber with everyone else that's rolling out fiber these days, Wi-Fi and fiber products, it's going to get lost in the sauce unless you say, this is a Google product. Oh, okay. Well, now it's up there. Same thing with Apple, right? Same thing with a car brand, right? Hyundai, Ford. They know who their audience is. They know that their audience likes Ford. They have that tribe. So they know when they roll it out, they want that to be front and center. So this is why I love brand hierarchy. Again, it should be in line with what your business goals are, your long-term business goals are. It will help your marketing, it will help your culture, it will help your vision, and everything in between. Give it a try.